This week is Autism Awareness Week, and I've been planning on making a video concerning autism, so I'm just getting this out here today. Now, in my usual fashion, I often combine two different things where I see a link between the two. And with autism, I've been seeing a link connecting to a certain diet that comes up a lot in my internet circles. And I've been making a lot of videos about it in the last 4 months. There's a number of YouTubers that are promoting this diet, which is meat-based, to the point of it being almost all meat. One of those people is Bart, who I had a 2-hour discussion/debate with, and he has autism. It's been well documented.
Oh, that must be right then. Now who sounds crazy, Gary? Come on, come back to earth, son. Come back to earth.
Now, I'm not saying that his current diet has caused the autism, because I figure he had autism long before he got onto this diet. But I still think there is a connection. And I've been learning a lot more about autism lately, and I've been noticing autistic type behavior with a number of these people that are eating this diet. Another one is Frank Tufano.
You might actually have the IQ level of the grape that you are feeding to your smelly vegan girlfriend.
There's a person called Milkjar who I think he was banned from YouTube a few months back, and that would be having to do with his strange behavior. There's another person who, I don't want to give too many of these people's names out because I don't want to promote them. There's a person we call s3ringe. You can tell he has mental problems. He also has a criminal history, and it's not theft either. It's weird stuff that I'm not going to get into here. Not YouTube friendly. I think it was when he was a teenager that he attacked some classmates with a knife. He is currently on this meat-based diet, and it all fits together because anyone who would choose to eat this way already has some problems. Yes, some of them are health-related problems that gets them to do an extreme diet. I would also make a logical guess here that these people have mental problems too, and we have seen them with Bart and some others.
It just shows that these absolute f***tards are absolutely destitute of any manner of sense. They're absolutely lacking 2 brain cells to rub together. If you want to someone's video and flag it. The sheer, as you say, rampant stupidity is just, it begars belief. Say things that are just absolutely, fundamentally, utterly unsupportable and ridiculous. So just absolutely crazy shit. And these absolute fucking echo chamber, brainwashed, mindless come online and say, oh, you got beaten up so bad in that debate. Number one, it was not a debate, it was a discussion. I actually don't give a rip-roaring fuck, and I don't really think you should either really care about that.
We have a special guest today. Frank Tufano is here. Work with the diet as well as coaching other people. So the first thing I want to say is, it's amazing that you interviewed that vegan guy. I don't know how the heck that you got through that, because I was just cringing. The guy is literally insane. And
I went into that podcast hoping, and this was with Vegan Gains, it ended up just being he wanted to be right, how debates end up being. I'm surprised I had the patience to get through it, to be honest.
Everything that you said, he just flipped it, and his whole intention is to invalidate, make nothing of, destroy.
A vegan wanted to be right?
If I brought something up, he would say it's a lie.
Now, for this next stage in building my case, I ask you to open your mind. Looking on the website WebMD, here's what they say autism is. Autism is a complex neurobehavioral condition that includes impairments on social interactions.
And you want to pretend, and you can't prove us that logic's
The only difference is your assumption.
Where does logic come from?
go to the f***ing mechanisms. Can we go there?
That's completely wrong, actually.
No, it's not completely wrong, you f***ing retard.
Communication skills.
It's the whole fucking thing that you're trying to stand on.
Am I talking to somebody here that's got an IQ over 100?
Bart, just calm down, okay, man? Just relax.
Well,
You don't
stop
need to
being a
start-
fucking retard and listen to
And communication skills combined with rigid, repetitive behaviors.
It's like
I'm just pointing out the obvious that your entire worldview is a house of cards, right? It's the whole fucking thing that you're trying to stand on. But then you try to turn it around on me because you're such a computer. You're so autistified in your vegan-angelical nonsense that you think you could just switch it around.
So you can't provide any evidence whatsoever that your God exists.
You can't prove to us that logic or reason exists, and you want to pretend, and you can't prove us that logic.
The only difference is
Because of the range of symptoms, this condition is now called Autism Spectrum Disorder. Spectrum of symptom skills, and it ranges in severity. A whole bunch of stuff here. And it goes into scientists classing together a bunch of related disorders. And the reason for all this is because scientists do not understand autism and don't know what causes it yet. Here it says, what causes autism? Because autism runs in families. Most researchers think that certain combinations of genes. We're living in this era here in the last decade where they're just so into genes, thinking that everything is caused by genes. It's probably just a way to get more funding for studies. They go on. But there are risk factors that increase the chance of having a child with autism. And we know this. They say advanced age of the mother or the father increases the chances of an autistic child. And that is another example of why it's probably the buildup of toxins in people as they live and age. Our environment is more polluted than ever. Remember at the beginning of this video, I said I don't necessarily blame these high-meat eaters' diets for autism. What I'm suggesting here is maybe their autism and what caused them to eat such diets were both caused by something else, possibly the same things. Let's let go of what we think we know about autism, like it's one thing caused by one thing. When it's not, you should just look at these things not as something with a name or in a certain class, but just the mind being affected by something to the point where it doesn't work right. And maybe what caused their autism also caused other health problems that got them to the point where they were trying a lot of extreme things like extreme diets.
Going in blindly.
She's giving essentially nutrition consulting, but she doesn't really have a background in it.
So it's been 3 months here on the carb diet.
Did he say 3 months?
I'm adding consultations to my arsenal of how I help people. If you want a consultation about anything, I don't care what it is, I can coach you through any kind of diet. I've tried them all. I know how to succeed. I know how you should be able to succeed. I'm the freak that couldn't make it happen.
That primal guy, I recently did a video on him. After watching him for a while, it's clear he has some mental issue there. He acts very immature, and he's also paranoid. He believes in the far-out conspiracies.
Look at this. Millennials are shaking up industries everywhere. Just ask the meat industry, which is seeing its customers increasingly turn towards plant-based alternatives at a blistering pace. You may not have noticed, but there's been a global shift away from meat in recent years. That's actually a lie. That's a total lie. Full 70% of the world population reportedly is either reducing meat consumption or leaving meat off the table altogether. This is from a report at Global Data, a leading data and analytics company that works with 4,000 of the world's largest companies. So it's all about data.
Now, I've always been a big proponent of the idea that our environment, our lifestyle, has a lot to do with whether we get sick or not, or develop diseases. And about the genetic factor, our lifestyles change our genes. You got your genes from your parents, and if your parents had unhealthy lifestyles, they'd be passing on altered genes. Another thing is, parents almost always pass on their eating habits to their children. And another reason autism would run in families is because families live in the same location. Now, recently, there's been a problem in the state of Nevada where they dump a lot of toxic waste, and some foods are becoming too toxic. And possibly a family might live really close to a power plant or electrical lines right over their house. I'm suggesting that autism is at least in part caused by having extreme unhealthiness, and specifically in the case of these high-meat dieters, they may have an imbalance in gut bacteria. And the reason they feel better when eating low fiber is because the fiber was causing problems in their imbalanced microbiome. Unfortunately, that diet does not fix the microbiome. It actually creates more of an imbalance that'll make it harder to go off that diet. And at the same time, they're ingesting a lot of toxins like pesticides, herbicides, and hormones that are concentrated most in animal products. So it is my theory here that autism is in part caused by the toxins in our environment and our food, and possibly even the type of diets that people eat, with high fat content or possibly lack of fruits and vegetables. The bad habits that the Western world has had for a few generations is now catching up to us, and we're now seeing the effects that are just taking off, kind of like climate change. And to back up this assertion, I'm going to read here from some scientific websites that I found. Autism rates are higher in California, Texas, North Carolina, and Utah. Some scientists have suggested that higher amounts of environmental toxins in these areas may explain the relatively high rates of autism. And then they give a footnote. Those places are more highly developed, have big cities. New research on autism and the environment, hormones, medications, certain metals such as lead, pesticides, and chemicals used to make plastic hard or pliable have long been suspected of having a role in autism. They've not been proven to cause autism, but they are known to trigger or worsen other health problems, including some that affect the brain. Many studies have shown that chemical exposure during development of the womb can have much more serious health effects than the same exposure would in adults. The 2014 study based on insurance claims found that boys born with genital defects were much more likely to be diagnosed with autism. Boys with autism were 5 times more likely to be born with genetic malformations than males without autism. And here they mention studies that show effects from cleaning products, medicines, and personal care products like shampoos. So I don't see why we should not suspect the foods that people eat. A lot of toxins in there. And also, it's said if you eat a lot more of something than is natural for the body, that becomes toxic too. For instance, the human body can only use so much protein, then it has to get rid of that protein. So what do you think? Post a comment below and rate this video thumbs up or thumbs down. Thanks for watching.